Due to greater production, finished goods stocks may be double in quantity. The cost of production per unit will be reduced due to lower cost of material and economies of fixed cost per unit. For production of 50 at the production level of 50,000 units, right now say you are keeping 5,000 units of finished goods in warehouse. If you want to produce double the quantity, then you have to keep 10,000 units in warehouse. You know that the stock of finished goods either valued at factory cost or cost of production. When the production increases, factory cost or cost of production proportionately decreases on account of savings in raw material cost and fixed cost. Say raw material cost present 5 lakhs at 50,000 level, 1 lakh level it would be 9 lakhs. Wages and factory overheads variable say 5 lakhs, say 10 lakhs here. Fixed cost right now 5 lakhs. There would be no change in fixed cost as a result of change in production. Now if you take this 15 lakhs, if you take this 19 plus 4, 24 lakhs. For producing how many units? 5 lakh units. 5 lakhs, 15 lakhs divided by, it would be 3. It would be 2.4. You can see cost per unit has come down. So for 5,000 units, the stock of finished goods would be 15,000. For 10,000 units, it would be 24,000. So if there is no savings in raw material cost and fixed cost, it would have been 30,000. 3 rupees into 10,000. So I hope you understand. So when the production increases, cost per unit decreases. As the cost per unit decreases, the value of finished goods decreases. So this is what point number 2. Data. Increase in demand, increased sales will lead to higher amount of data for the same credit period. In case of reduction in credit period, the increase may not be proportional or double. Suppose at 50,000 units, you are allowing credit of say 1 month. For 1 month, 50,000 into 1 by 12. 4,167 units are allowed as credit. Suppose selling price say 50, 2,08,000, 2,08,333 rupees were struck with customers. So if you want to double the production, the credit sales would have been into 2, 8,334 units. The selling price at the same level 50, 4,16,700 rupees will stuck with customers. Therefore, the point here, when the production doubles, obviously the quantity of debtors will double. Increase in demand and increase sales will lead to higher amount of debtors for the same credit period. In case of reduction in credit period, the increase may not be proportional or double. Obviously, in general cases, if you have the same credit period and if you want to double the sales, obviously debtors will be doubled. But the amount of debtors, selling price per unit may be reduced on account of price elasticity of demand. Additional quantity could be sold only by reducing the price. So they are saying that when you want to produce 1 lakh units, at present you are producing 50,000 units only. To sell the additional 50,000 units, you should give discount to the customer. On account of that, the sales realization will come down. But unless otherwise specified, we assume the quantity will be doubled and the price will be maintained at same level. The point to highlight here, double the production, double the quantity of the debtors. All conditions remains the same. If there is any exceptional cases, so those exceptional points will be stated in the problem itself. So creditors, raw material purchases quantity and creditors bill quantity may be doubled subject to the credit period remaining constant. In case of extended credit periods, creditors may increase more than the proportionate or double. Let us assume right now you are getting 2 months credit from the suppliers. When you are buying more quantity, you can ask the supplier to extend either the discount or the credit period. If you are not taking any discount, you want to get additional credit period, that case you may ask the supplier to extend additional credit period. If that happened, the creditors may be proportionately higher. As the creditors amount increases, it will reduce our working capital requirement. Due to bulk purchasing and better bargaining power, the firm may obtain discount. Discount allowed only when you don't ask for credit. If you ask for credit period, they won't give you any discount. Hence, the amount payable per unit of purchase stands out reduced. They are interpreting in the other way. When you are asking for a discount instead of a credit period, so the cost of purchase come down. As a result, the creditors will also come down. When you are operating double shift, all current assets and current liabilities expected to be doubled, except work in progress. Why it is? The quantity of work in progress in single shift is equal to the quantity of work in progress in double shift. Why it is? Listen. Here, work in progress holding period, say 10 days. When you are operating single shift. In single shift, you are producing 50,000 units. When you decided to operate on double shift, the working capital could increase to 16 hours from 8 hours per day. That case, this 10 days duration come down to 5 days, because the work commenced in the one shift will be carried on to second shift. So that case, 2 days work as we are running on the present level will be completed in a single day. 10 days into 8 hours per day. So 80 hours are required to complete the production process. Right now, in a day, you are running 16 hours. 16 into 5 means 80 hours. The processing time will come down from 80 hours, 10 days to 5 days. The number of hours processed won't be changed, it remains at 80, but the days of processing has come down. That's why the work in progress inventory, suppose in single shift if you have 2000 units in process, the processing time of these processing units is only the change, but the quantity, whenever you can see this in these 10 days, so these 2000 units will be completed in first 5 days, and the next 5 days you can see another 2000 units. So in any day of these 10 days, you can see only 5000 units in process. That's why all the current assets and current liabilities in terms of quantity will be doubled, except work in progress. Work in progress quantity remains the same in double shift. This is because when you increase in the production hours, the impact would be on the completion time, not on the quantity. So in these 10 days, only 2000 units will be in process. There is no increase in the quantity. There will be no change in quantity of work in progress since work commences in the first shift will be completed in the second shift. Hence, at the end of any day, the quantity of work in progress will remain the same as it was in single shift. Due to reduction in raw material cost and economics of fixed cost, you can see the average cost per unit of work in progress will decrease. So this is summary of this discussion. All the current assets and the current liabilities in terms of quantity will be doubled except work in progress, but you may not see the proportionate increase in the total cost. Now, this problem number 8 is designed to highlight the impact of double shift on the total working capital requirement. After completion of the problem, you came to know that yes, there may not be any proportional increase in the working capital as a result of increase in production. So the components which are included in the computation may not be proportionately increased on account of increase in production. That is mainly because of economics of scale in various input costs and fixed costs. This will be highlighted in this problem. Submarine Enterprises has been operating in the manufacturing facilities till 31st March 2017 on single shift basis with the following cost structure. Until 31st March, they are operating on single shift. So cost of raw material per unit 6 wages, out of which 40% fixed 5. Variable overheads, out of which 80% fixed, 5. Profit to selling price 18. During 16-17, sales were 4,32,000. 4,32,000 total sales. Selling price 18. So 24,000 units were sold in 2017. As at 31st March 17, the company held the following balances. Raw material 36,000, work in progress, valued at prime cost 22,000, finished goods valued at total cost 72,000, debtors valued at sale value 1,08,000. In view of increased market demand, it is proposed to double the production by working an extra shift. So, company contemplating that there would be sudden increase in the market demand. To meet that, it has to double the production. It is expected that a 10% discount will be available from the supplier of material in view of the increased volume of business. So, as the production increases, parallelly, purchase quantity will also increase. That's why we can get 10% discount from the supplier of raw material. Selling price remains the same. That means we don't want to decrease the selling price to increase the output. The credit period allowed to customers will remain unaltered. No change in credit period allowed to customers. Debtors collection period. Credit availed from the supplier will remain at the present level, that is 2 months. So creditors payment period will remain at 2 months. Lag in payment of wages will continue at half month. Outstanding expenses will be maintained at half month areas. Investment debtors should be valued at total cost. So this is another point. You are required to assess the additional working capital requirement if the policy to increase the output is implemented. See. Problem number 8. Present sales volume is equal to 4,32,000 So we don't have any other information about production. In that case, it is assumed that production is equal to sales. So you have to assume like this. When you don't have any information about production, so whatever quantity was produced will be sold. Assuming opening stock of finished goods is equal to closing stock of finished goods. You know that opening stock of finished goods plus production minus closing stock of finished goods is equal to sales. When these two components are equal, then only the production will be sold. You have produced 1 lakh units. You have 10,000 units in hand. 1,10,000 units are available for sale. 10,000 units at the end of the year lying at warehouse. So what is your sales? 1 lakh. Therefore, expected production in double shift is equal to 24,000 into 2, 48,000. This is issue number 1. You want to increase your production from 24,000 units to 48,000. Now, you know that value is the multiplier of two components, quantity and cost. So see, in single shift, stock of raw material, work in progress, finished goods, debtors, creditors, expenses are given. I told you already, when you don't have any information, this quantity, what was there in the single shift, will be doubled. I will explain. Let me explain. See, in single shift, stock of raw material is equal to 36,000, right? So how this is arrived? Quantity into price. Cost of raw material, you are buying each unit at 6. You made an investment of 36,000 on stock. That means quantity is equal to 36,000 divided by 6 makes 6,000 units. In single shift, for running the production in a smoother manner, you are keeping 6,000 units as raw material in stores. 24,000 is our production. So 6,000 divided by 24,000 means stock equivalents to 3 months consumption is maintained in the stores. So for production of 48,000, 3 months requirement, 48,000 divided by 12 into 3, 12,000 units should be maintained in the stores. Then so single shift, quantity, price, cost. Raw material, work in progress, finished goods, debtors, like that you have to calculate. Similarly, on double shift, what would be the required quantity to be maintained? What is the price or cost? What is the total cost? Unless you don't know these factors, you can't calculate working capital, various current assets and current liabilities and working capital under double shift. That's why I am preparing a working note to highlight the quantity and cost of various current assets and current liabilities. So production working is completed. Working note number 2. Quantity of various current assets and current liabilities. Single shift, double shift. So SS means single shift, DS means double shift. In future, this reference will be taken. Stock of raw material, 36,000 divided by 6. 6,000, it is 12,000. 6,000 into 2, double. Work in progress. The value was 22,000. They are valued at prime cost. Prime cost means direct material plus direct wages. Direct material 6 plus 5. 11. 22,000 divided by 11. Here we go, 2,000. I told you already, you may increase the production quantity, but the processing units won't be changed. But we can reduce the processing time. Finished goods. Total cost. Direct material, direct wages, plus overheads. 6 plus 5 plus 5. $9,000. Debtors. Selling price or sale value. So 1,08,000 divided by selling price 18. 6,000, 12,000. Creditors. Supplier will continue to remain the present level, that is 2 months. So 24,000 units. 24,000 divided by 12 into 2. 4,000, 8,000. Outstanding wages. So 24,000 units divided by 12 into half month means outstanding wages for 1,000 units. Here for 2,000 units. Outstanding overheads, same here, 24,000 into 12 into 0.5, half month, 1,000, 2,000. Like the required current assets and current liabilities in single shift as well as double shift in terms of quantity has been calculated. Now cost per unit, note 3. Single shift, double shift. $24,000, $48,000. Raw material, 6 rupees, 6 rupees. Wages. Variable fixed. They are saying that variable 40%. 5 into 40%. ₹3, ₹2. So variable varies with production. Then fixed ₹2. Total fixed wages. You are producing total ₹11. No change. Prime cost. Listen here. Per unit ₹2. We don't take per unit fixed cost. We take total fixed cost. You are producing 20,000. 20,000 into 2, 48,000 is the fixed cost. Now, this 48,000 fixed cost is for producing 48,000. In that case, per unit fixed cost reduce it to ₹1. Now, 3 plus 4, 4 plus 10, 6, ₹10. Overheads. Variable fixed. Fixed 80%, 20%. ₹5 into 20%. ₹1. Variable cost per unit always remains constant, but fixed cost per unit always varies. As the production increases, fixed cost per unit decreases. So this is ₹4. Total 50. 11 plus 5, ₹16. Into how many units? 20,000. $96,000. So 96,000 is now for producing 48,000 per unit 2. The supplier, it is expected that is 10% discount. Okay. So there will be 10% discount. So this is 5.4. 5.4 plus 3 plus 1, 9.4. 9.4 plus 3, 12.4. This is total cost per unit. Student note, not required in exam. Variable cost per unit always remains the same with respect to production. Point 2. Total fixed cost will remains the same. With respect to production. Hence, total fixed wages and overheads are taken as the same. Similarly, variable cost per unit taken as same. So, the working part was completed. Now, estimation of working capital. Single shift, double shift. Raw material 36,000. Quantity, cost, value 12,000 units, 5.4. 64,800. Work in progress based on prime cost. Single shift already estimated. In double shift quantity 2,000. Tell me what is the prime cost here? 9.4. 2,000 into 18,800. Finished goods total cost 4,500, double shift 9,000. Total 72,000, 9,000. What is the total cost here? 1.4. 12.4. 9,000 into 12.4. 1,11,600. Debtors, they asked to calculate on the basis of total cost. $6,000 into right now total cost 60. 96,000. Pencil. Total cost 60. Quantity here 6,000, here 12,000. $12,000, 12.4. 1,48,800. $36,000. Plus 22,000, 72,000, 2,26,000, 64,800 plus 3,44,000. Gross working capital excluding cash, because that is not given. Creditors, tell me quantity. Creditors 4,000, 1,000, 1,000. So 4,000 units into each unit. 4,000 units on credit basis. Each unit was purchased at 4, so 24,000. Here 8,000 units have to purchase on credit, but per unit cost on account of discount has come down 5.4. 8,000 into 5.4, 43,200. Wages, outstanding wages, 1,000 units. Per unit wage cost 5. Per unit wage cost 4. So here 2,004. 8,000. Outstanding overheads 1,000 into per unit overhead cost 5 rupees, 3 rupees. $1,000, 2,000, 3 rupees, 6,000, 24,000, 34,000. Lakh 92,000, 3,44,000 minus 57,200, 2,86,600. Now, for production of 24,000 units, 1,92,000 was already invested. But to increase the production level to 48,000, we must maintain working capital at 2,86,800. So from that 1,92,000 was already available. So additional working capital that we have to invest 94,800. This is how the working capital and the double sheet will be ascertained. Just go through the calculations. I am starting from here. First working note, production and sales. So production is not given. Then I am assuming that production is equal to sales. This is on the assumption that the stock levels will be maintained at same level in the previous year. So the expected production in double shift would be 48,000. For estimation of working capital, we need how much quantity of various current assets should be maintained and what would be the investment value. To know the investment value, quantity should be multiplied with cost per unit. That's why quantities are calculated here. So these quantities are already given. So these quantities is simply the double of what were maintained under single shift. Except one point here, the work in progress quantity will remain at same level. All the remaining current assets and current liabilities are doubled. Then cost per unit is separately calculated here. Raw material cost 6 rupees is already given. Because of 10% discount in double shift, per unit cost becomes 5.4. Total wages are 5. 60% variable, 40% fixed rate. 5 into 60%, 3 rupees. So the variable cost per unit always remains the same, hence 3 rupees is taken. But the total fixed cost remains the same. This is per unit fixed cost. That's why the total fixed cost was asset type. So this 48,000 fixed cost has to be maintained when you are operating the production on double shift basis. So now this 48,000 is for producing 48,000 units. The per unit cost becomes 1 rupee. So because of savings in material cost and fixed cost, 11 rupees prime cost now come down to 9.4. In fixed cost 80% variable, 20% fixed. So total fixed cost 96,000. So this 96,000 is for producing 48,000 when you are operating double shift. So per unit fixed cost becomes 2. 1 plus 2, 3. 9 plus 4 plus 3, 12.4. So 11 plus 5, 16 rupees. So variable cost per unit always remains the same irrespective of production. Total fixed cost remains the same irrespective of production. Hence the total fixed wages and overheads are taken as the same. Similarly, variable cost per unit taken as same. This is the final calculation part. Next, different approaches of financing working capital. See, we have fixed assets, working capital in asset side. Liability side, equity, preferential capital, long-term debt. So these are long-term sources. So if you still differentiating this, you will like this, writing like this. This is short-term source. This is long-term asset. This is short-term asset. Different approaches of financing the working capital. See, in the first part, you learned about how to estimate the working capital. Let us assume you have estimated your working capital requirement would be 2,80,000. Then this amount should be bring into the business. This 2,80,000 can be funded with two sources: short-term source, long-term source. Short-term source, you can take bank overdraft. You can ask the creditors to give credit. This is also a short-term source. You can take cash credit facility. So these are short-term sources. Or you can use your equity funds, ideal equity funds, to finance this working capital. Preferentials can be used. Long-term debt can be used. Now the issue is how this working capital requirement 2,80,000 should be funded. Is it better to fund with short-term source? Is it better to fund with long-term source? Which is most beneficial source? And what are the various methods available to finance this working capital requirement? This is about our discussion. This is what we call as finance approaches of financing. Few people are saying, since it is a short-term source, since working capital is a short-term asset, you must use short-term source. Few people are saying, don't use short-term source, use long-term source to finance the working capital. Few people are saying, don't use short-term source as well as long-term source, use mix of this. There are different approaches are available to finance the assets. Now we are discussing about these financing approaches. Based on the organizational policy and risk-return trade-off, working capital investment decisions are categorized into three categories: aggressive, moderate, and conservative. Aggressive. Here, investment in working capital is kept at minimum investment in current assets, which means the entity does not hold lower level of inventory, follow strict credit policy, keeps less cash balance, etc. Which means the entity does hold lower inventory, lower creditors, lower debtors, and less cash. The advantage of this policy is that lower level of fund is tied in the working capital, which results in lower financing costs. But flip side could be that the other side of the coin would be that the organization could not grow, which leads to lower utilization of fixed assets and long-term debts. In the long run, firm may stay behind the competitors. First one, aggressive policy. If you want to adopt aggressive policy, you want to take huge risk. You don't want to make excess investment in working capital. You just keep whatever working capital is required, that would be maintained. Usually, instead of maintaining 2 months inventory, you just maintaining half month inventory. Instead of providing 2 months credit to your customers, you are giving just 1 month credit. Like that, you try to minimize your working capital. So the main advantage here, when you are following aggressive policy, significant reduction in investment can be minimized. As a result of that, you would decrease your financing cost. This is advantage here. The flip part, So when you are adopting aggressive policy, investment will be very less. You could save your financing cost, but you could lose your competitive advantage in the market. Instead of giving 2 months credit, if you are giving 1.5, say half month credit, the most of the customers will shift to competitors. If you are maintaining less credit, you are not required to buy more quantity of raw materials. That case, you may not have smooth relationship with your creditors. The only advantage here, you can reduce your investment and financing cost. That's all. Second one, conservative policy. In this approach, organization used to invest high capital in current assets. Organization used to keep inventory level higher, follows regular credit policies and cash balance as much as to meet any current liability immediately. The advantage of this approach are higher sales value, increased demand due to liberal credit policy, increased goodwill among the suppliers due to payment is short time. The disadvantage here, cost of capital, higher risk of bad debts, shortage of liquidity in long run to longer operating cycles. So when you are adopting conservative policy, the name itself saying that a conservative person maintains working capital at high level, keeps higher stock, allows more than what is required to its customers, high credit period. At the same time, keeps higher level of inventory. Because of all this, and keeps high cash balance for running the operating expenses. Because of all these things, he has enough liquidity as and when required. He can able to make payment as and when become due. If supplier asks to repay the amount, he can repay. He can repay the any obligation, operating obligation, as and when it arises. So because of that, as the liquidity boost, on account of the liquidity boost, as the payments are met on time, the goodwill, the firm's goodwill will increase in the market, and it has a smoother relationship with all the suppliers. The only thing is, when you are maintaining excess investment, it could impact your profitability. You have to carry cash all the levels. The financing cost would be very high. And moreover, when you are allowing more than what is required, there is a scope for, suppose, in the similar forms in the industry, allows 2 months credit to customers. You are allowing 4 months credit to your customers. Because of that, you might see huge sales, huge volume of sales, huge debtors, but most of the debtors may pay on time, but compared to normal level, the risk of bad debts will rise. These factors are to be keenly watched under conservative policy. Conservative policy boosts the liquidity but affects the profitability significantly. Moderate, this approach is in between the above two. Under this approach, a balance between the risk and return is maintained to gain more by using funds in very efficient manner. So in moderate policy, they don't invest huge amount of working capital. At the same time, they won't carry significant working capital. They neither increases the investment in working capital nor decreases the investment in working capital. They maintain average working capital all the times. So it keeps liquidity moderate. It keeps risk at moderate level. So this is about moderate policy. Then you can see the implication of these three policies. A firm has the following data for the year ending 31st March 2017. Sales 20 lakhs, profit 2 lakhs, fixed assets 5 lakhs. The three possible current assets holdings of the firm 5 lakh, 4 lakh, 3 lakhs. It is assumed that the fixed assets level remains constant and profit do not vary with current levels. So the profitability of the company is not affected on account of current assets level. You may increase or decrease because the profit comes from fixed assets. If fixed assets are in operating condition, production will continue. On account of production, you are getting profitability. Prepare a statement showing the effect of three alternatives.